Okay, this is the next Lionel update. I got all the main lines working and laid, and feeders soldered to them. I ran it quite a bit yesterday and this morning, testing it out. So the only other thing that I have to do is kind of grind a little bit bevels, more so on the bridge. When you're running 4 of these trains, it's awesome. So I just want to kind of give a quick update on this, like before I go to the next steps. So I have to add kind of a corner piece, and I've got these two, I guess they're 2x2 scraps. So I'm going to cut one diagonally and then get some more 1x3 in there and figure that out. So I'll just show you. Let me just close this. So kind of gives you an idea what it looks like. These are the bevels that I'm talking about. So these ones are all good. It does work and it doesn't derail, but it just makes a big kind of a click sound. And I've only got it set up for going one direction. So basically you want the bevels in both directions. So I'll show you the flap disc in a second. So I'm kind of toying with the idea of putting a siding here. This is going to be a passenger station. I'm thinking the Amtrak station from Menards is the one that I'm going to do, but I'll change it to a Penn Central logos instead, and then do platforms on the in between the tracks, if that makes sense. I don't know if I showed these, but they came. These are actually 027. So I did some research. There's a conversion pin that I can put in. So those are actually coming. And then this is a manual one. I got 4 powered ones. I don't know if I didn't pay very much. I only paid $10 each. So this would go right here, basically. And then if I need to make another bevel, another corner piece, that's fine. So I was kind of thinking, well, I'll have one industry. This I want to be a highway and kind of an overpass on each side for the cars. And then, yeah, that's basically it. So I don't know, I want a chemical plant is what I would like. And I don't have enough straight track to finish, so I'll need a couple more pieces. This little table I built, basically that's how it's connected. Gives you an idea. I just picked up a hobby panel so for a nice board, and then if I use those powered switches, I'll put the powered switch controls for the K-line on the bottom. I gotta sand this down a bit, but not a big deal. The other thing I'm thinking is in these 2 corners, I'm gonna round them just for ease of walking around. Oh, and I forgot, I don't know if I showed it. I don't think I showed it in a video. I showed it in a short, but I cut those 2 foot off of there. So basically this table is now 6 feet instead of 8. And that allows me to have an aisle on both sides of the layout. And when I was doing vacuuming or sweeping or any of that stuff, I could just move the layout back and forth because it's all on wheels. So mind-blowing, I know. So I'm going to show you the flap discs that I use and the cutoff disc for cutting all the track. So there is a lot of custom pieces. So I use these guys. So this is a normal flap disc. I think it's a 40 grit or whatever. And then this is what you would call a Scotch-Brite disc, and then it has sandpaper in between. So it's an 80 grit sandpaper and a 180 Scotch-Brite. So it's kind of more of a buffing disc. That's what I use for doing the bevels, because this is very less aggressive than that. And then I'm using an 030. It's actually thinner than a Dremel cutoff, if you can believe that. And I just prefer using an angle grinder. I used to sell that stuff, and so I'm familiar with it. So this is kind of shows you what I'm doing with that. So I take the pieces off, obviously, and then I'm beveling on there. So I need to adjust this a little more, or grind a little more off. This one hasn't been done at all, and this one needs a little bit more. And then what that does is, so you see there's kind of a high spot. It does go over because it's lined up straight this way. But if you have a bevel on here, whoops, basically when it comes, the roller that picks up power, it kind of goes in the dip and it doesn't hook on that. And what I'm trying to avoid is basically having a burr form on the metal roller. So yeah, that's basically it. What I used the 40 grit disc for was I ground all the screws down, because my kids, I noticed they're under there and I don't want them to poke themselves in the head. So I've got some more to do. I used a very short screw, but I wanted a bigger head. You can get a smaller screw, shorter wise, but I mean, it's only 1/4 inch board anyway. So, but I wanted a fairly big head because what's happening is it's holding that tab in there. So you have to kind of fool around with these tabs a bunch with a flathead screwdriver, because sometimes the little paper, this is Menard's track, it gets out of the alignment underneath there, for lack of a better word, and then the metal is shorting out. So the way that works the fastest for that is, first of all, look and see that the paper insulator is all the way in the middle. And then number two, you can kind of just disconnect half of your track, and then if the train runs on half of it, because it just pops apart, just screws off the board, then you're kind of eliminating. So like I couldn't find it on this track there last night. Took me a while, then basically I just disconnected the track, and then I was able to isolate it to this corner, and then I figured out better where I was missing. So yeah, I'm on the fence about putting that board back here. I don't really want to. I'm not really sure. The other idea that I had was, what if I put the 2-foot board here? And now this is 6 and 4 feet, so it's 10, and the sheet of plywood is 8 feet. So I would use one of those 2-foots, I guess, and then one of the 8-foot that I have remaining. I think that would be more useful having it here, because when you put it this direction, you're just going to have the exact same shape over here that you have over here. So if I'm going to add more layout board, I'm going to put it here most likely, and then that, whoa, focus, that will handle that corner, and then this one. And then what that would allow is I could put a passing siding in here of some kind, maybe move this station or have another station. So all right, I'll leave it at that, and we'll talk to you soon.